Hi. Tonight, I'm going to read you some extremely dull Greek myths for sleep. They're not exciting, they're not dramatic, and they definitely won't keep you awake. These myths were once vibrant stories of gods, monsters, and heroes. But tonight, we're stripping all of that away and focusing on the bare dry facts. The kind your ancient high school textbook might have skimmed over when no one was paying attention. There will be no thrilling battles, no poetic flourishes, and certainly no emotional stakes. Just names, events, and an endless parade of interchangeable characters. So, if your goal is to fall asleep, you've come to the right place. Let's begin with something especially monotonous. The family tree of the Greek gods. It starts with chaos, not the exciting kind, just a vague concept. Out of chaos came Gaia, the earth. Then, Uranus, the sky. Gaia and Uranus had children, as one does. These included the Titans, such as Cronus and Rhea, who were themselves parents to the Olympian gods. Cronus, worried that his kids might overthrow him, ate them one by one as they were born. Rhea didn't love this plan, so she tricked him by hiding the youngest Zeus and feeding Cronus a rock wrapped in a blanket instead. Cronus didn't notice. Zeus grew up, came back, and forced his father to regurgitate his siblings. Thus began the Olympian era, though we won't focus on anything exciting they did, because again, that would be interesting, and we don't want that. Let's now name all 12 Olympians, slowly and without flair. Zeus, king of the gods. Hera, goddess of marriage. Poseidon, god of the sea. Demeter, goddess of agriculture. Athena, goddess of wisdom. Apollo, god of music. Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Ares, god of war. Aphrodite, goddess of love. Hephaestus, god of fire and forge. Hermes, god of travel and communication. And Hestia, who tended the hearth and was mostly left out of stories. That's 12. Don't worry if you forget them. Most people did. Let's now discuss some myths. Not the gripping kind. The kind that are repetitive, slow, and confusing. Ideal for drifting off. We begin with Persephone. She was picking flowers one day when Hades, god of the underworld, saw her. He decided to abduct her. He did her. Mother, Demeter, was upset. Very upset. She stopped making crops grow. That caused famine. Eventually, a deal was made. Persephone would spend part of the year with Hades and part with her mother. This explained the seasons. Sort of. When Persephone is underground, Demeter is sad. That's winter. When she returns, Demeter cheers up. That's spring. It's not a very cheerful story. But again, we're not here for cheer. We're here for calm, gray mythology. Let's move on to Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus was a musician. Eurydice died. He went to the underworld to get her. He played his lyre. Hades was impressed. He said Orpheus could lead her out, but only if he didn't look back. Orpheus looked back. She vanished. End of story. It teaches a lesson about patience, but we won't dwell on that because that would be thought-provoking. And we're not trying to provoke thought, just drowsiness. Now, let's consider he was punished in the afterlife for tricking the gods. His punishment, to push a rock up a hill, only for it to roll back down. Forever. There's no twist, no ending. Just eternal rock pushing. And Tantalus, whose punishment was to stand in a pool of water beneath a fruit tree. When he tried to drink, the water receded. When he tried to eat, the fruit pulled away. Again, no resolution. Just frustration for eternity. Let's now mention Prometheus. He gave fire to humans. This made Zeus angry. As punishment, Zeus chained Prometheus to a rock. Each day, an eagle came to eat his liver. At night, the liver grew back. Then it happened again, every day. That's the whole story. There's also Pandora. She was given a box, though some say it was a jar. She was told not to open it. She opened it. Inside were all the world's troubles. Disease, suffering, and so on. Only hope stayed behind. It's meant to explain why the world has problems. But again, we won't reflect too deeply on that. Just note that Pandora was curious, and that curiosity caused consequences. Now, consider Narcissus. He was very attractive. He saw his own reflection and fell in love with it. He couldn't stop staring at himself. Eventually, he faded away, or turned into a flower. The lesson, probably about vanity, but we're not analyzing. We're just naming myths, slowly and gently. Another brief tale. Echo. She was cursed to only repeat what others said. She fell in love with Narcissus. He ignored her. She wasted away. Now, only her voice remains. That's why echoes exist, supposedly. Let's now move to Daedalus and Icarus. Daedalus was an inventor. He built wings out of feathers and wax, so he and his son, Icarus, could escape from a tower. They flew. Daedalus warned Icarus not to fly too high. Icarus didn't listen. The sun melted the wax. He fell into the sea. That's the entire story. The moral is likely about moderation, but again, we won't focus on that. It's simply a tale of flight, heat, and falling. Next, Pygmy. He sculpted a woman from stone. He admired her. Then she came to life. They got married. No conflict, no drama, just art becoming human. Now Midas, he asked for everything he touched to turn to gold. He couldn't eat. He couldn't hug anyone. He regretted the wish. Eventually, the curse was undone by bathing in a river. He lived wiser, but not too interesting. Let's also mention Arachne. She was skilled at weaving. She claimed to be better than the goddess Athena. They had a weaving contest. Arachne won. Athena got upset and turned her into a spider. And now we have spiders. That's the explanation. Let's now mention Theseus and the Minotaur. There was a labyrinth. Inside, a creature, part man, part bull. Theseus entered it. He carried a sword and used a thread to trace his path. He killed the Minotaur. Then he followed the string and exited. That's the whole story. Next is Jason and the Argo. They sailed aboard the Argo. Their goal, retrieve the golden fleece. They encountered many obstacles, but we'll skip most of them. They've got the fleece, they've returned, that's all we need to know. Bellerophon rode Pegasus, a winged horse. He fought a creature called the Chimera, part lion, part goat, part snake. He totally won. Can you believe it? What an awesome moment for him. Later, he tried to fly to Mount Olympus. That didn't go well. He was thrown down. The gods were not amused. Now, Atalanta, she was very fast. She agreed to marry only someone who could outrun her. If they lost, they died. One man dropped golden apples along the path. She slowed to collect them. He won. They married. And then, of course, the Trojan War. It started with a beauty contest. Paris picked Aphrodite. She promised him Helen, who was already married. So, a war followed. After 10 years, the Greeks pretended to retreat, leaving behind a large wooden horse. The Trojans brought it into their city. At night, Greek soldiers emerged. Troy was destroyed. Let's now recall Phaethon. He was the son of the sun god, Helios. He asked to drive the sun chariot across the sky. His father agreed, reluctantly. Phaethon couldn't control the horses. The sky burned, the earth froze. Eventually, Zeus struck him down with a thunderbolt. Another tale is about Medusa. Once beautiful, she was transformed into a monster. Snakes for hair. Anyone who looked at her turned to stone. Perseus used a mirrored shield to avoid her gaze. He decapitated her. From her body, Pegasus was born. Then he flew off. Cadmus, another figure, founded Thebes. He fought a dragon, planted its teeth in the ground. From them, armed men sprang up. They fought each other until only a few remained. Those few helped build the city. There's also Psyche and Eros. She wasn't supposed to look at him, she did. He vanished. She went on a long quest. At long last, they found each other again, and it felt like magic. The story ends happily, but we won't focus on that. We're just listing things. Let's also mention Io. She was turned into a cow, not metaphorically, an actual cow. She was chased across the earth by a giant with many eyes. Eventually, those eyes were placed on a peacock. That's why peacocks have spots. There's Daphne, too. She was pursued by Apollo. She didn't want to be caught. She prayed to be saved. She turned into a tree. Now she's a laurel. Endymion was a shepherd. The moon goddess, Selene, fell in love with him. She asked that he sleep forever, so he'd never age.
He did.
He still sleeps. Now, Actaeon. He saw Artemis bathing. She was not pleased. She turned him into a stag. His own hunting dogs tore him apart. Then there's Pentheus. He mocked Dionysus. He spied on his rituals. The women, in a frenzy, tore him apart. That's the entire tale. And she bragged about having many children. Leto, mother of Apollo and Artemis, had only 2. The gods took offense. They killed Niobe's children. She fled. She became a stone. Next is Tantalus. He offended the gods. As punishment, he was placed in a pool of water beneath fruit trees. But when he reached for the water, it receded. When he reached for the fruit, it moved away. He stayed hungry and thirsty forever. That's where the word tantalize comes from. He tricked death. So he was punished. He had to roll a boulder uphill. Each time it neared the top, it rolled back down. He did this forever. He still does. Also, Orion a hunter. Some say he was killed by a scorpion. Others say Artemis shot him. Either way, he became a constellation. Now he's in the sky. There's also Chiron, a wise centaur. Unlike the others, he was kind. He trained heroes. He was wounded and couldn't heal. He gave up his immortality. He died? Then there's Asclepius, son of Apollo, a healer so skilled he could bring people back from the dead. Zeus didn't like that. He struck him with lightning. Later, Asclepius became a god of medicine. Let's talk about Hecate, goddess of magic, crossroads, and ghosts. She carried torches. She wandered at night. She was feared. She was respected, often shown with 3 faces. Not much more is said. That's her myth. Now Eris, goddess of discord. She threw a golden apple at a wedding. It was labeled to the 3 goddesses fought over it. This led to the Trojan War. Or from one apple. Then Typhon, a monster. Huge, terrifying, with 100 heads. He challenged Zeus. Zeus won. Typhon was trapped under Mount Etna. That's why it erupts. There's also Pan, god of nature. Half man, half goat. He caused panic. Literally. People heard his music and fled. Nemesis was the goddess of revenge. She made sure no one got too lucky. If someone was arrogant, she brought them down. Quietly. With balance. And then there's Morpheus, god of dreams. He sent images while people slept. Not stories. Just shapes, fragments, feelings. That's all we know. Let's include Thanatos. He was death itself. Not Hades, just the act of dying. He was quiet. Gentle, in some stories. Terrifying in others. He didn't speak much. He simply arrived. Then there's Hypnos, god of sleep, brother of Thanatos. He drifted through dreams. He carried a poppy. He touched people's eyes. They closed. Now the fates. 3 of them. One spun the thread of life. One measured it. One cut it. Every life had a thread. Even the gods had threads. Then the muses. Also 3. Sources vary. They inspired art, music, and poetry. They whispered in ears. They were always watching, but you never saw them. Let's mention chaos at the beginning. Before anything else, not a god, just ... space. From chaos came everything, but chaos remained, always beneath. Now we have Nyx, goddess of night, older than the gods, feared even by Zeus. She moved silently. She brought darkness. She didn't need to speak. Her presence was enough. Then Ea, goddess of dawn. She opened the gates of the morning. Her fingers were rosy. That's what the poets said. She fell in love with mortals. They aged. She didn't. Let's recall Helios, the sun, before Apollo took over. He drove a chariot across the sky. Every day. Over and over. Watching everything. And Selene, sister of Helios, she had her own chariot. Silver. She rode through night. Softly. Quietly. Finally. Gaia, the earth, mother of all. She gave birth to sky, sea, and mountains. She was always there, still is. So now, the myths sleep too, folded in dust, wrapped in twilight. Not lost, just quiet. They drift in our minds like clouds over distant mountains. Voices from an age of wonder, now reduced to whispers. These stories weren't just told, they were believed, felt, feared. They shaped how people dreamed, how they lived, how they faced the dark, gods and monsters, fates and flames, love, pride, sorrow, change, and still they echo. In poems, in stars, in us. Close your eyes, let the silence return. Because in the end, mythology is memory, and memory never sleeps.